Hey, welcome. In this video, we have to discuss in this video about the feature startup failure of Spring Boot. This is one feature where Spring Boot has provided, means that once we have to start the Spring Boot application, we see sometimes that if there is some exception in the bin creation or some port reuse or some dependency, then there are some exceptions comes in different way. Sometimes we see that the message is coming very organized way, what is the description and what is the action. Sometimes we see that some full stack trace. So how this happens and how to customize it, top of that what we can do on top of the Spring Boot application, that we have to discuss in this video. So how startup failure is analyzed, means that once an exception happens at the time of Spring Boot application, how Spring Boot determines, hey, whether I need to give any specific message or I need to give that full stack trace, how this is determined. See, these are the steps which I have mentioned. If Spring Boot fails to start the application, then Spring Boot has that information what is the specific exception. What is the root cause of this failure? Means that root cause that failure is mapped with some specific exception type. Then Spring Boot finds, hey, what are the registered failure analyzer against that exception? Means there is some mapping in this Spring Boot framework that for this exception I need to analyze based on this class. So there is some one-to-one mapping. So Spring Boot finds that what is the failure analyzer against that corresponding exception. Next, what Spring Boot does, the finding out that registered failure analyzer may have two results. There may be registered failure analyzer, there may not be. So if there is some registered failure analyzer, then Spring Boot checks what are the corresponding description or message and what are the next step, or means that what the action needs to be done by the user. There is some organized way the message are displayed in that windows. But if Spring Boot does not find any registered failure analyzer, then what we can do? There are two options then. Then if there is no matched registered failure analyzer, then top of that we can add one custom failure analyzer to organize the message, or we can enable the debug property to get the full exception stack trace using the corresponding command like that java -jar minus minus debug. So means that I need to enable that debug property. So we have to do the hands-on in both ways. What do we have to do? We have to first check that, okay, for some existing exception like that uh, Spring Boot application has been started based on some port, let's say 8080, and again I'm trying to start that application. Then what Spring Boot gives the message that we have to check. We have to create a new exception type. For that new exception, how Spring Boot is giving the message without custom failure analyzer, that we have to see. And we have to top of that we have to add also one custom failure analyzer. So we have to do those small hands-on step by step. Before going to the hands-on, we have to check and we have to discuss how to add custom failure analyzer in our Spring Boot application. There are certain rules or steps are there. We need to follow those rules. Based on that, we need to add the corresponding custom analyzer in our Spring Boot application. What do you need to do? Before adding the custom failure analyzer class, we need to identify for which exception we are going to create our analyzer class. If we see that our port, let's say one example I can say that let's say we are running our application in one port, the Spring Boot application, the normal port is 8080. If we run that application in 8080 port from Eclipse, and if we run the same application again into that command prompt, we'll see that it is giving some message, some description and action message are there. And if we see that a corresponding exception, we'll see that one exception is mapped with the port in use exception. So means that exception is mapped with some analyzer class. So first we need to understand whatever the analyzer we are going to create for which exception type. Now once we have identified the exception type, next what we need to do, we have to create a new class. That class will extend abstract failure analyzer class with that corresponding exception type. Once we have to extend our new class from abstract failure analyzer, we need to be forced to implement one method, that is analyze method, override analyze method. That method will return failure analysis. So that if once you have to create that instance of failure analysis, it will return three things. One is that description, action, and the exception itself. So that failure analysis we need to create with the proper description message, proper action message. Once the class is ready, we need to register that class into our Spring Boot such that the Spring Boot can register that newly added custom failure analyzer class against that exception. So for that, what we need to do, we need to have a look whether we have the spring.factories file is there in meta-inf folder or not. If there, then we can update our class against that file. If it does not exist, then we need to create meta-inf folder and spring.factories, and we need to add that custom failure analyzer class against this key. org.springframework.boot.diagnostic.failure analyzer equal to our class. So once that is ready, and if we run that application, so that custom failure analyzer class is registered with that corresponding exception. Now next things what we need to understand, if we have multiple failure analyzer class, then we can add those analyzer class against the same key with comma separator. That things, all those four, 5 steps which I mentioned, all things we have to do our next hands-on. Yeah. Now we have to do one small hands-on to add the custom failure analyzer class in our Spring Boot application. This is one existing Spring Boot application which has very basic structure. That is one Spring Boot class, that is the employee application class, which is also act as a REST controller. It has one method, get employee details, mapped with get employee, and one service is injected. We have also another controller simply, that is giving the get department and find employee. This is a small hands-on the hard code value. This is not a real life application which needs to interact with the database, but anyway our hands-on is we have to add our custom failure analyzer on top of this application. So what we have to do, we have to add first that we have to override the existing failure analyzer like the port in use. What we have to do, we have to first run this application in port 8080, then again we have to run the application in command prompt. So it will give that exception, but you will see that a message, whatever the message is coming, that is completely on organized way, one description and action is there. So we have to customize that message. We have to add another failure analyzer which will override that message. First we have to do that hands-on. So first let's see that message, right? How the message is coming. First I am running this application, Spring Boot app. Yeah, application is running. Yeah, this application is already started. Now if we run the application, check the application, then you will see this localhost. Yeah, this is the class get employee. Yeah, and you will see this value is there. So means the application is running. So what we have to do, we have already started the application from the Eclipse. Now we have to run that application from the command prompt. See, this is the mvnw spring boot and run. This is the command to run that application from that corresponding folder. So now let's start that application. As that application is already started from Eclipse, so it should give the exception, the port in use exception. We'll see the how the message is coming. Yes, if you see the message is there here, the structure, if you see this, the message has this structure. What is this? It has one description, one an exception. And what is that exception was coming? See, this is the exception. See, this is the exception, port in use. So means that once that exception occurred, Spring Boot tried to find out what is the mapped failure analyzer. So means that there is one existing port in failure analyzer class is there against the exception, and that failure analyzer class is giving this message with the description and action. So what we have to do, we have to customize this message. We have to develop our custom failure analyzer class which will override that port in use exception analyzer and will give our customized message. So to do that, what we need to do? First, we have to add one class as a new class, right, as we discuss. So let's say I am giving the name like this, port in use failure analyzer, yes, and that class should extends what? Abstract failure. See, it is asking on exception type. What is that exception type? What was the exception? Port in use exception, that we already checked. Yeah, so we are writing one analyzer for that corresponding message. Now it is asking to override some method. So say this is the add unimplement method. So we have to write that analyze method which will return failure analysis. So it is taking the root failure and the exception. So let's say we are writing new failure analysis. New failure analysis. Yes, first is the description, second is action, third is that cause. So first, let's say I am writing this method port in use. First, the description means that what is the exception. So means we can write port, what is the port name, cause dot, definitely port name should be the is already used. Let's say I'm giving this message. What is the action? Action should be please use different port. Please use different port other than, what is that? Cause dot get port. Right, so this is the and first is asking the cause. If we see this class, why this is missing? This is the first, just I'm concatenating it. Yes, this is the port description is port is the existing port is already used, and that please use different port other than this. Or we can enhance the message also, or what they can please stop the other application, right? Yes, so this is the description, means it will give that this is that exception and this is the action. So now the class is ready against that port in use exception. What we need to do now? Or we need to register this class against that property file as we discussed. So now that we should, I do not have any folder meta-inf, so I need to create one folder first, meta-inf. So first create the folder as meta-inf. Meta-inf. Now against the meta-inf, I need to create a new class, new file, that is spring.factories. Spring.factories. Right. Now I need to give that corresponding class against some specific key. So the key is this. What is this key? This is the key. Yeah, this is the key. Yeah, this is the key, and value will be that corresponding analyzer class. If we go, yeah, this is the class dot, this is our class, right? This is the analyzer class. Now the class is already registered, so once you have to write it and Spring Boot start the application, first it will register this analyzer class against that corresponding exception. Now if I again run from the command prompt, we should get our customized message. Let's see. So is now the application is started. Yeah, no, see, this is our message. Port 80 is already used, and accent, please use different port other than 8080, or please stop the other application. So we have now developed our custom failure analyzer to override the existing message. Now what we have to do, this is our for existing analyzer. Now we have to, let's say we have to create our new analyzer for a new exception. So let's close all. Yeah, what we have to do first, we have to create one exception. Let's say in our application specific exception, this is our class. Let's say we are writing one class like bin not found exception. Found exception. Okay, now this will extends, let's say extends runtime exception. Yeah, here we have to give it, I'm writing this, let's say I will this exception will tell which bin cannot be initialized. So I need to know the bin name. Let's say, yeah, I can first I will create the getter setter method, especially the getter method. Setter method is not required because I need to know the bin name once we have to do the analyzer. Then we have to, what we have to do, we have to run our constructor. Yeah, public, yeah, I can give the bin name. Now yes, this dot, first I have to do, what we have to do, we have to run that corresponding exception. Yeah, what it will say, let's say bin not found for bin not found for this corresponding bin name. I'm running the super constructor, we are passing the message, and I am setting the corresponding bin name in our own class such that I can get that class later. Yeah, sorry. Yes, now this is our class. So now what we have to do, we have to first create that employee service. That service class was injected in our employee application. Generally service interacts with the repository and it does lots of things. So now we have done some very basic thing and returning some hardcode value, but to test our custom failure analyzer, we have to enforce this service through some exception. What it is do? Throw throw new bin not found exception. Bin not found exception. We have to pass the message. What is this? These dot get class dot get namelets, right? So now what it is doing in our employee application has the employee service as a dependency, and that service, once the service will be Spring Boot will try to create that service, it will get some exception, and that exception we are trying to map with some failure analyzer. First, what we have to do, we will not run that. First, we will not add that corresponding failure analyzer in our registered class, or I'm not creating anything. First, let's see how the exception is coming in this class. Okay, I've stopped the application now, and I'm running the application. Let's see how the message is coming. Build what is this? Run as Spring Boot app. See, the message is there is no such description, action, and all that corresponding. If we expand our console, if we see there, lots of full stack tests are there, and if we see the exception is that, what is the exception was happened. Let's see what is the exception now. Bin not found exception is there or not? Yes, nested exception is the bin not found exception, right? So we'll try to map that exception. Now if we see, the lots of things are there, right? Lots of things, and I need to go through and I need to find out what is the root cause. Now to help or to debug that issue very easily, what we have to do, we have to add our own failure analyzer class. Let's say I am creating another class that is what is the class? Bin not found failure analyzer right? So what we have to do, first we have to extend this class abstract, right? Abstract track bin failure analyzer class. What is happening? Need not. What is this? Abstract failure. And the exception is the bin not found exception. Okay, the name is need not found. So I am just changing the class name, refactoring. This is bin not found exception. Now make it complete. So now again we need to override that corresponding analyze method. So that is write this add method, and I have to write the analyze method. What you have to do, simply new failure analysis. First it is asking description. So what is this? There is a problem to instantiate the bin. What is the bin name? That is the cause. We have added that bin name. So there is a problem to instantiate the bin. That is the description. Now what is the action? Please check the constructor of the bin cause dot get bin name, and this is the cause, right? So first what is saying, it is saying that okay, there is some problem to instantiate the bin, and what is the action? Please the constructor of the bin. So this is straightforward, right? Now what we need to do, we need to register this analyzer in our property file. So let's go to the Spring Boot spring.factories, and as I mentioned, to add the multiple register multiple failure analyzer, we need to add with a comma separator. So what we can do, just add that dot bin not found analyzer. Yeah, we go, yes. Now we have added two failure analyzer. One is the bin not found, another is the port in use. Now let's start the application. See, this is the start the application. So what is this? Run as Spring Boot app. Yeah, see, this is a, without any full stack test, this is giving some nice message. This is the description. There is a problem to instantiate the bin com.employee service action. Please check the constructor of the bin. So this is a very customized message, and it helps the developer or who is managing the server to find out the root cause. So we can, based on our incident, based on our exception, we can enhance our failure analyzer, and it will help to debug that issue, to find out the root cause of the issue. Find out the root cause of the issue in a very short time. So I hope this has helped, this hands-on has helped, and you have understood, and wherever you can, you will get the chance, you can try to implement. This is a very nice feature of the Spring Boot, and that's all for this video.